Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Foresight TV. Most of the time, it's sort of a one-on-one conversation. We've got Tom and Shane with Maplewood co-CEOs. I'm really excited about this conversation and talking about it because it's pretty unusual to have co-CEOs. But before we get started, a couple of things. The first is I want to talk about our newest project that we're doing at Foresight. We are aggregating headlines that you can click through to see the latest and greatest senior living news. You can go to one place, you get feeds from senior housing news, McKnight's all over, plus a bunch of stuff from mainstream media that is really focused on senior living and aging and age tech. We'd love to have you check it out. It should be part of your feed every day. It'll make your life easier and faster than having to go to a bunch of sites and then finding nothing you're interested in. The second thing I want to mention is we are holding a little Super Bowl contest. You need to go to LinkedIn, take a look at my feed, tell us who you think is going to win. And if you pick the winning team, we will send you some swag. And subject to the amount of swag we have, multiple winners, so this is not a one-person thing. So you guys should go take a look. Tell us who you think is going to win, and we'll send you. I guess we'll probably send you swag anyway, since you're a guest. So before we get started, this. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. Tom, Shane, welcome. Let's start by just talking a little bit about Maplewood, who you are, what your secret sauce is, what makes you tick, how you're changing the world of senior living. Who are we talking? Tom, we'll start with you just because you're on top.
Okay, we're going to flip coins in that. So, no, pleasure, Steve. Thank you for the invite. So glad to be on your channel here. Just a quick history on Maplewood. We're a 20-year-old company that was started in Danbury, Connecticut, currently located in Westport. And we've grown from very modest means, one building at the time. We now have 18 buildings in 6 different states. Shane and I have been working together for 16 or almost 18, 20 years at this point. We've been in Maplewood for 15 years. So I know we're going to talk more about that, but just a brief background on Maplewood.
Great. So I'm going to come back to you in a minute, Tom. But Shane, talk to me a little bit about your background, sort of what you're really passionate about, how you're changing the world.
Well, I don't know about changing the world, but we're doing our little part here, I guess, right, Steve? And I hope you're recovering here. My background, actually been in the industry my entire career. Did my master's in gerontology going way back before I care to mention right now, and started off with a large national skilled nursing provider back in the Midwest, and made the transition quickly to assisted living. And I've been doing this really my entire career here. Made my way out to the Northeast, met Tom, 15, 16, 17 years ago, and at another provider. And we decided to come to Maplewood and make a difference in the industry.
Terrific. And so talk to me a little bit about this whole co-CEO thing. How does that work? How do you split the duties? And I guess maybe more importantly is what happens when you disagree?
Well, of course, Tom, right? We never disagree. So I'm teasing, right, Steve? Yeah. So listen, I think it's a great question, and it's something that we talked about at length. First, we do see eye to eye on most everything. We've been not just colleagues, but very good friends for a really long time. We're very much employee first, do the right thing for people, and usually the answers come pretty easily here. But we got to have defined lanes, and that was the first thing that we had to really just divide. I'm going to be handling most of the internal pieces, budgets, community support, compliance efforts, and Tom has just done an incredible job working with Omega, our capital partner, a lot of the legal, a lot of the transition. As you know, that we just had some big happenings over the last few years here. So it's really just defining those lanes and making sure that we've got clarified roles.
Okay, great.
Add, Steve, that It's a natural evolution. We, as I mentioned, there were 3 partners that formally got Maplewood off the ground in 2010 or 11. It was Greg, myself, and Shane. We've been working for a long time. We've always had our different disciplines, and we've always been partners. We've worked together well. So when Greg unfortunately passed in 2023, it was just kind of a natural process to keep going. We knew each other well. We knew the business intimately. We had helped build the business. So it was just a natural progression, really.
Yeah, I can only imagine how difficult it must have been to lose a partner and a friend, and to still keep the building going, the community and the business going. Do you mind talking about that? Is that too sensitive a question to ask?
No, it's a very fair question. I don't think a lot of folks have done it, at least in our business, and it was certainly an eye opener. You know, we have a great institutional partner in Omega, but to have a 53-year-old colleague drop away suddenly, it was just a shock to the organization, to the industry, and certainly to us. So to navigate through that, you know, it took a while of time and change ownership with licenses and working with the states and everything else. So we did it. We did it very successfully, and we maintained the support and trust of our employees. Most importantly, that was a lot of the navigation. You know, the underlying business was operating very well, but obviously it was a disruption to the capitalization and the ownership of it. So it was a balance of maintaining the outstanding operating performance while still looking ahead and reassuring both investors and employees and residents that we are the team.
So I want to get back a little bit to your respective roles, but before I do that, one of the things I was researching and preparing for this is that you have had, let me see if I get these numbers right, you've had same store NOI growth of 65% from 2022, 96% occupancy, and this is an industry where clearly occupancy is getting better, but as I talk to operators, I feel like everybody's sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop, that some disaster feels like it's just around the corner. And it sounds like you're crushing it. How did you get there?
Well, again, first of all, we're very proud of the performance. Very proud and grateful for the team that helps us achieve those types of results. You know, we came out of COVID, which seems like a lifetime ago or yesterday ago, depending on the type of conversation, right? We came out very strong. We never let ourselves dip below 80%. You know, we fought, and the communication, the effort that went into that. So we had a strong starting point, and we recovered very, very quickly. We were north of 90%. You know, one of the fastest in the industry. So because of that, I think we, you know, starting from a position of strength, we've been able to drive rate, justified through beautiful physical environments, excellent quality care, you know, while maintaining, you know, expenses to some reasonable level. But it's the quality of the offering, it's the continuity of care, where we've been able to drive rates and get that flow through revenue to help support that NOI growth.
So with that higher performance, where do you go from here?
Well,
acquisitions or more?
Go ahead, Tom.
Always room for improvement. I guess I'd like to mention that after the last 2 years, what we've been through in the restructuring, the company has never been stronger financially, operationally, and with our executive team. So that's a really good feeling, and it allows us to grow. It allows us to focus on our employees and residents. You know, there's a lot of things, if you're busy and distracted with other core issues of the business, you kind of back off on that. And this has allowed us more recently to focus on that. It's really exciting. It's like
I want to dig in a little bit. I want to talk about systems, but Shane, I want to sort of pick on you a little bit. You are described as being direct and candid. And a part of that really appeals to me. But then I sort of think, well, Steve Jobs was direct and candid, and nobody liked him, right? And I don't see that in you, but talk to me about what direct and candid means in your mind and how that works. And
I'm sure there's plenty of people that would feel that way, Steve. But
yeah.
Listen, direct and candid. Listen, we're in a very serious business, and we pride ourselves. We have some extreme tenure with our leadership team. Tom and I were just talking about it. One of our line associates that's in a little bit of financial difficulty. He's been with us for 17 years. Even at a community that we acquired even earlier on. So the tenure is something that we're extremely proud of. But tenure not at the sacrifice of performance. People need to understand that, again, we are in a very serious business. I just sent an email out to the whole team, that when things are always going great, that's when bad things tend to happen. And we just need to double down. And the analogy that I gave is, if you ever got a delay on a flight, right, that the pilots go through their checklist one last time. And that's what we're trying to do right now, Steve, is, let's make sure that we prepare. Let's prevent that elopement. Let's prevent that move out from happening. Let's figure out this employment cultural thing that might need to be addressed before it really becomes something bad. So that's really been the focus.
So I love that. I am, when I first started Foresight, I realized that, and I've confessed this on the air, so this isn't new, but it always sort of embarrasses me that when I look at the senior living industry, and the thing I'm most passionate about, it's actually frontline workers more so than the residents. Because I think when you make the frontline workers' lives terrific, they love coming to work, and that translates into happy residents, happy family members. And I know that one of your big focuses is hiring right and onboarding right. And I guess I feel like maybe that's the most important part of the conversation we could have today is how are you doing that, and what are the results? What does that look like?
Boy, that's a constant evolution, trying to figure out exactly what that formula is. The hardest thing to do is hire off a piece of paper. We really, when at all possible, we try to draw on past experience, past relationships, professional networks, even sometimes personal networks that people might have to bring on board great people that have that same thought mentality. To go back to your point, I really see where you're talking about, the important thing for us to focus on is the employee, because if the employees are happy, they will take great care of our residents, no question. And then for our home office team, our primary customer is the field, right? The community associates, and that's where I can be very direct and candid, is a lot of times with what I call the ivory tower, which is our home office, where it's Monday through Friday for the most part, and the holidays and weekends. And boy, if there's a snowstorm, everybody wants to peel off a little bit early. And meanwhile, at the community level, people are running to the building and preparing to spend the night, right, and do those extra things that are necessary to take care of the residents. So I think it's kind of this tiered, multi-layered approach of, who is that group's customer, and then doing what we can to prepare them in the best way to make sure that we're providing that best customer service. Because, again, the home office, the customers, the field, it might be the direct resident or their family member.
Yeah, I just, one of the, as the industry talks a lot about staffing shortage, and in some sense, I don't want to minimize that. And yet, when I look around and I see McDonald's and Starbucks and Taco Bell able to hire people, it suggests to me that the problem is less having people available than it is creating a workplace environment that people are excited to go to work about. And it sounds like you're really working hard on that.
And when we continue to try to work hard, it's a demanding environment, as you know. A lot of our environments, we're a little bit further down on the acuity scale, but we're incredibly grateful and proud of our line staff, and they're an asset, and we need to treat them as such.
I know you guys are really focused on leadership training. So a couple of weeks ago, just by happenstance, I ran a little poll on LinkedIn where I asked people to talk about the leadership training they got in the industry. And so these, again, are going to be probably executive director level and higher. Maybe, I don't have a lot of frontline workers who are on LinkedIn typically. And I was kind of shocked at the results. Only 33% said they felt like they got great leadership training. 48% said they got little or none. And 19% said they got some, but it wasn't very good. Talk to me about how you do leadership training and how do you make it effective?
Well, I think, Tom and I talked about this just a couple of days ago. It's almost disproportionate. We're incredibly proud of this, where, we've had several people that have grown from executive director level positions that are now leading or in senior level positions, either within Maplewood or our competitors. And that really makes us feel good. And I think it's a lot of that just because of the size of the company that we are. We're just big enough to have the resources, but we're small enough that we can allow people kind of have that view under the tent a little bit. We can show them the impact. We can, when you're with a larger company, when I was cutting my teeth, your responsibility got down at the community level, just at that NOI, and you didn't really see everything else that went into that. So it's with us, it's probably less about the formal training that we're providing than the opportunity to be there and to be involved in all facets of the business. And I think that's why I think that we found that people have left, a Maplewood or grown within Maplewood, and they've been very effective because they've had the benefit of seeing all the different pieces of the business, how they're all interrelated and how they're all interdependent upon one another.
So I love this idea of allowing people to grow in their leadership to the point where they actually graduate to other companies, because what you're really doing is you're making the industry as a whole better. Tom?
No, I was going to add to that. We, as I mentioned, Shane and I have both been doing this for 30 years, and I don't think there's one position in a community that we haven't personally done ourselves. So we've grown up in the business. We have a very flat organization. Our home office is maybe 25, 30 people at the max, and not all of them are here. So Shane and I pride ourselves on being really approachable, teaching people, wanting them to succeed. We don't succeed unless they succeed. And the reality, our business is growing economically, or exponentially, I should say, by the dollar value of some of these assets. When you look at it, 15, 20 years ago, an assisted living building might have had a value of $10, $15 million. It's not uncommon today for a building to be worth 30, 40, $100 million. So you have to have very capable people running these buildings, and not everyone's cut out for that. So there's a lot of nurturing, a lot of education, and a lot of constituents. So we want to empower people.
I love that so much. So Tom, I understand you're really focused on systems and strategies, and running a small business with a few people. Before we were acquired by ProCare, it was sort of like daily block and tackling, thinking a little bit about strategy, a little bit about systems, but not too much. Once we were acquired by ProCare, Brett Landrum, their CEO, is a big systems guy. And so I'm just spending a lot more time thinking about what systems look like. And Tom, I'd love to hear kind of about the systems that you use and how that works to make Maplewood so successful.
I'm actually going to defer that to my friend. A lot of the great systems that he's implemented, because he's due the credit for that.
Okay, Shane?
Well, again, Tom and I, we kind of work on everything together here. So, and Steve, just to clarify, specifically, just back of house backbone systems, we use a lot of the enterprise systems that you'd be familiar with, Align, UKG, some of the kind of the household names, if we will, or at least industry names. We've done a lot of work, Predict AP, AI-based AP systems. We're doing Vena with a lot of the BI systems. We could keep going with the different names like that. I think what's fascinating right now, and AI has just become this catch-all for everything, like it was magically going to solve all the thoughts in the world here. But we're really right now taking a look at operational efficiencies for back of house efforts there, where we've completely revamped our accounting, legal systems and departments here, working towards something that is still kind of be defined. It's not really completely out there public here, but that has been transformational already with our performance, and it ties in the timing, the speed of which that we can get great information to the field absolutely has helped with the financial results we discussed earlier. Another group, Sunbound, on the AR and the EHR, the payment, that the speed there, and just what a competent group they've been. And I don't know if we're allowed to kind of talk about these specific vendors.
You bet. No limitations on that at all.
But man, I'll tell you what, there really are. There's some great groups out there that we've started to work with. And Omega has been great, our capital partner. They're knee deep, and they've made a lot of the introductions to these groups, and with full support of, hey, if it works, great, and if not, don't worry about it. But it's been a lot of the back of house, and then obviously, we've got a lot of the different technologies in our buildings right now that are providing that additional layer of support and security for our residents. I remember Tom mentioned we've been in this industry a long time, Steve, right? And but I remember the days back, when everyone's afraid that there's gonna be a camera nearby or what. You just assume that now, right? I mean, it's every room, every hallway, and it's just one indication of how the industry's changed.
Well, and it's so interesting on cameras, right? I mean, I think the change in attitudes in police departments is so indicative of what we've seen. At first, they were just terrified that cameras were going to get them in so much trouble. And what, of course, they've discovered is that mostly cameras just protect them from all kinds of things. So when you look at technology, it sounds like you're deep into technology. Do you see areas in technology that still need to be made better? What are the things you wish existed that don't?
Tom, any thoughts?
I was going to say AI caregiver. There are certain touch points that just aren't going to change. Us and the whole industry, and every industry is looking at the AI efficiencies that are coming, and there's no question about it. But just to alleviate some of the operational pressure in the communities, we spend a lot of time looking at it now, and I think we brought up efficiencies a few moments ago that we're able to check the boxes in certain parts of the business that are done. It's now going to look at that and some of the technology, and truthfully, some of the technology that we've incorporated into our buildings hasn't worked. It was a very expensive investment to make, where we're tearing it out 3, 4, 5 years later. So sometimes simple is better. So it's a balance that Shane and I go through, looking at it, what makes sense. Don't overcomplicate it, but ideally, what makes life easier inside the community.
Yeah, I think that's the big question in my mind or the big driver is what makes it easier to deliver better care. The area I still see so much promise in, and I hear a lot of people talking about, but I don't know that I've talked to anybody who's really got it cracked, is the ability to take all the data we have and use it to be predictive, create early warning systems for changes in condition. Are you working on that? Have you had success in that?
Yeah, so we've got we've got different fall technologies in our communities. Safely U's been an incredible partner for us. That's one. Again, we could go through the different technology.
Yeah.
I think what's going to be helpful, and I think a lot of groups, Steve, are working on that physical AI component, where you should be able to have one device in each, something that's going to be gathering all of those data points together. Because at some point we're going to have all these little cameras and sensors in every nook and cranny in these rooms, and it's probably unnecessary. But boy, if we could have almost a centralized physical thing that's capturing all this data, it's capturing from temperature and breath and physical movements, and it's just really incredible. So I think we're working towards that to give you the data that you represented. I think a lot of these things are going to aggregate. I'm assuming that we're going to start seeing some consolidation in that tech front, in the physical environments, which and by the way, my own parents are in a senior housing community in Greater Cleveland, Ohio, a national provider, and so I am also looking at this from the point of a son that's 8 hours away by, and it would be helpful if I could have some more information, and just a little bit easier access.
Yeah, it's there's so much out there, and I think I agree with you. I think we'll see a lot of consolidation. I worked for 10 years in Silicon Valley selling software that was used to design chips, and it was very much like it is now, where there are dozens, maybe hundreds of providers of little point tools, and today they mostly have consolidated into 2 or 3, maybe 4 big systems, and so I think we're headed there. Probably still another 10 years away. So you actually have, I'm going to shift gears here a little bit. You actually have 2 brands, right? Can you talk to me a little bit about the differences and why 2 brands? And maybe the other question is, are there more brands coming?
So you're absolutely correct. We have the Maplewood Senior Living brand, which started in 2000, excuse me, in 2006, and initially made up Connecticut and Massachusetts. It was the early 2000 teens that we started to think about a higher brand. And, I should qualify the Senior Living brand. It's a very high-end brand. We were actually thinking about a premium brand, a super premium brand that was meant for mostly cities, gateway cities. Mm-hmm. And we had tried a number of development opportunities and acquisition opportunities in New York City, given that it's 45 minutes away. We could not make it work, and obviously we've gotten lots of fanfare and press for being one of the first in the country to kind of develop a Uber luxury spaceship, as I like to call it, the Inspire brand, which is just a whole different level of service. So as we were going through the development process and certainly the branding, it was just a natural to come up with a separate brand because they are different. So at this point, of the 18 communities, 16 are our traditional Maplewood Senior Living, most of them located in very high-end areas with high obstacles or high barriers. And the other 2 are ones in DC, which we opened just about a year ago, and then certainly Carnegie Hill in New York. So those are the 2 brands. We would love to do a 3rd brand. We haven't quite figured out how to do it yet. Something that appeals to the masses and where there's a dire need for it. So I hope we and other operators, we can crack that, make it successful. We haven't done it yet.
Yeah, that I'll be excited to see where you go with that. I tend to sort of think that we have a shortage of sort of the Hampton Inn's level of care, where they honestly, it's a very modest product, but it does a very nice job at what they do. Tom, you use this analogy of the Formula One car to talk about where you're going and what you're doing and how you think about things. Can you expand on that?
Sure. We the Inspire projects, the 2 of them, they're several $100 million a piece, were technically very challenging from a real estate perspective. And operationally, our New York properties, 23 stories, the largest footprint's about 10,000 square feet. So you can think of the level of service that's got to be delivered, the types of residents, the expectations, and same with our DC project. So we had to implement a number of new technologies. Shane just went through some of them, and the buildings are absolutely cutting edge. The systems, through the architectural mechanical designs to the programming, and to the way that our operational team delivers it. And it took years and years to refine that. When we were developing Carnegie Hill in New York, it was a 5-year process. We were constantly reinventing it, bettering it, looking for ways to do things differently. And we fortunately had a trickle-down effect. You have F1, you have these very complex machines. And through that, like with auto manufacturers, there's a lot of great technology and ideas that disseminate down through the other properties. So we've had good fortune with that. We've learned. Certainly the big ones are challenging, but there's definitely a learning curve and a trickle-down effect.
Terrific. So we're about out of time. I'd love to have you just sort of dream about what Maplewood is going to be in the next 5 years. What's your big dream? And maybe from each of you for just 30 seconds or something like that.
Shane, you want to go first?
Shane?
Yeah, I think First, we'd love, whatever amount of time down the road, still to just be recognized as one of the best operator in the eyes of our customer. If we do that, wherever our growth is going to take us, we'll get there. But whatever size we are, we want to make sure that we just continue to do it right. But I think that, probably double the size of the company, maybe that third brand, trying to stay within our core markets. It's very difficult to support buildings, as you go all around the world here. And, but again, controlled growth to the point that we just make sure that we can be a great employer and continue to be a great destination for our customer.
Tom?
You nailed it. The only thing that I would add in addition to that, we don't have to grow. We would do it organically because we want to. But in terms of our offering, right now, most of our product is assisted living and memory care with a little bit of independent living. We would like to certainly weave that into the mix, more multi-generational and different things. So like a lot of operators in the industry, we are contemplating that.
Terrific. I love that. And one of my dreams for the industry is I'm a big fan of the technology company, NVIDIA. And one of the things I admire about it is that if you're a software engineer, you're a hardware engineer, and somebody says to you, where would you like to work if you could work at any company? Pretty much everybody's going to say, oh, I want to go work for NVIDIA. They're doing really interesting, world-changing stuff. And they're a great company to work for. And of course, people are also making lots of money with stock options and things. And I have this dream that some senior living organization is going to be that company that everybody, you go to anybody all across the country and you say, what company would you like to work for? And I don't know that we have a company that looks like that, but it sure sounds like you're close. And that's really, really cool. So thank you so much for joining me. I wish we had more time. I've still got a bunch of questions I'd love to be able to talk about. So maybe we can do this again. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend. And I hope, I got to ask one more question. Who are you rooting for?
Pats.
Shane?
My son, listen, I'm in New England. So my wife's a Patriots fan and my son wants the Seahawks. So I'm staying neutral, Steve.
I don't blame you for that at all. I'm a 49er guy myself. My son-in-law is a big Seahawks person, so I guess I'm rooting for the Seahawks. Again, thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back next week with 2 new shows.
Hey, real pleasure, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you.